All right, so now we're getting really deep into the draw the rest of the owl category for this tutorial. You'll see that we have here this dashboard, and if we click on something like order here, what we're going to get is a pop-up where we're going to be able to choose an existing pizza, or we can build a pizza. And you'll see this building of a pizza now actually gives us some toppings we can choose from. And what we want to be able to do now is be able to connect this UI with our order. Now you'll see if you're looking in the top of the URL here that we've actually gone ahead and associated this with a query-based state pattern so that all of our state is actually going to be persisted inside of the UI. So if I were to take this shareable UI now and open it into a new tab, we could actually share this information with somebody else. So what we're going to need to do next is add the ability to give a name to this pizza, which is something that we wanted to introduce in our data model. And then we are going to be able to handle a mutation for ordering this pizza for the user who's going to be ordering it. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to go ahead and add in the input here for adding a name to the pizza. And then we're going to go ahead and handle the mutations here at the bottom. Okay, we've introduced an input field now that allows us to go ahead and name this pizza. And what we want to do at this point is to be able to go ahead and take that entire payload of the title, the selected ingredients, and be able to pass that in now to a mutation that will actually go ahead and create a pizza order for us, as well as a pizza, as well as creating the join table inserts for our pizza topping join table. Let's go ahead and test what that mutation would look like over inside of the API Explorer, so we'll be able to get a better idea of what kind of a payload we need to provide. If we head to the API Explorer, we'll see we already have it started here. Let's start off by giving it a named insert here. So we're going to call this the create pizza mutation. And I'm going to turn on the Hasura role for user here so we can actually see exactly what it is that we'll have access to. So we're going to go ahead and run the username here. We're going to grab the title for the pizza. And then we're going to call this a string. And we're going to pass that over into our title field here. And then we'll see that what we need to do is for our pizza topping pizzas, we actually are going to pass in an array of these of the pizza topping connections. The pizza ID will actually be inherited as part of the nested mutation here, but what we need to provide is the pizza topping ID, and so that's going to be something like a 1 or something else. And so in this case, we basically only need a shape like this to pass on. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and pass in another array here, or we'll call this pizza toppings, and we'll construct this on our front end to be able to pass in. So we have pizza toppings, and this needs to be in the shape of, we're going to have a look at what the actual request is. So we're going to go to the pizza insert, we're going to go to the pizza, we're going to go to the data input and pizza topping pizzas, and we want to go to that data tab. So it needs to be in the shape, it needs to be of this type here. So we'll just select that and paste it in here, which will now allow us to use pizza toppings as the stand-in for this array here. And again, we need to provide the pizza toppings ID when we want to create a pizza. All right, so this will allow us to insert a pizza order. At the moment, I do not have my user ID provided, so I'm going to go ahead and open up my data tab here in a second window. I'm going to grab my user ID here for Tim, which is going to be user ID 5. I'm going to go Hasura user ID is, I think I said it was 6, did I? That's Jan, but that's fine. So we'll go with Jan. And then we're going to be able to simply insert this at this point. I need some pizza topping IDs here. So we're going to go ahead and go to pizza topping. and we're going to grab, we just have them numbered 1 through 3, so that's pretty easy here. I'm going to switch this back to 5 because my logged in user is actually Tim. And then on our variables down here, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pass in this JSON object. So the title we're going to pass in, we're going to do something kind of like the demo pizza. And then for the pizza toppings, we're going to be passing in, we're going to pass in an array, and we need the pizza topping ID. And we're going to go ahead and be able to provide, we'll just do, 1 through 3 or something. So we can go ahead and pass in the first one. The second one, who knows how crazy of a pizza this might end up becoming. I don't know what those toppings actually are. And then we'll cap off that array here. So with this insert here, in theory, if we use this same payload, we should be able to insert a pizza. And we're going to look at the response of pizza topping, pizza topping, and title. So we should actually see the title and the toppings that we are creating here. Let's go ahead and try this mutation now. When I execute that, we'll see we've created a new demo pizza with mushroom, pineapple, and tomato. Surprisingly, not the worst combination, but for using toppings 1, 2, 3. But anyways, that's going to go ahead and handle the mutation for what we want to create. We're going to take this now over into our application and generate a mutation handler for that, where we'll now be able to work with the rest of our data creating content. So what we want to do first is we're going to go ahead and create a handler here to execute the mutation for building the pizza. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new handler here. And in that handler, we want to go ahead and work on getting the payload shape the way that we want it to look. So we're going to console log it out. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and grab the selected toppings and just see if that happens to already be more or less the array of toppings that we are wanting to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and just console log that out. I'm going to go ahead and go inside of the button here, and then we'll just say the on click, and we can do the handle click behavior here. Okay, so what we should have happening here is when I hit handle click, we should be able to actually see that handle. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new, going to inspect the page here, and I'm going to dock this so that we're able to view this just a little better. Okay, we have our docked editor now, so we'll be able to see anything that is happening in console. So let's go ahead and try selecting a couple of items here, and we're going to go ahead and hit order. And we can see we got pineapple and tomato, which is great. If we go ahead and just do pineapple by itself, we're still looking for that to be inside of an array format, which is great. And so we're able to simply get all of the ingredients at the time of clicking. All right, that is great. That's exactly what we wanted to get. Now we need to actually find a way to get the ID of those. So what we're going to do is we're going to head back over into our project here, and we're going to find a way to convert that array of toppings and get the actual ID from those instead. So here we are back inside of our code base. I'm going to go inside of the queries now, and I'm going to create this new create pizza mutation. And what I'm going to do is just paste in what we have, and you'll see that we've got these variables that are required. Now at this point, we could follow our typical pattern of generating our typings, and we would be able to get what we expect from that content. There is one additional option when working with URQL, and specifically when working with a React project, that we could take advantage of here. If we were to move into the Codegen file, we could modify this down here at the end, where we would be able to say for the plugins that we want to actually turn on with React with hooks. And with hooks, that would actually generate these hook handlers for us, which is a pretty handy utility for us to work with. To do that, we're going to simply create a drop down underneath this generates that is a config called with hooks. And along with that config, we also need to go ahead and import a TypeScript URQL library. So we're going to go ahead and add that now. I'm going to go ahead and say yarn add, and as a developer dependency, GraphQL Codegen TypeScript URQL. And we can go ahead and add TypeScript URQL then as one of our plugins. And when we do that, what it's going to do is it's going to allow us to use these hooks that get generated. Let's go ahead and run the code gen now. And so now if we come to our build pizza, we should be able to import our use toppings query now. So we say use get toppings query. So to use this hook, all we have to do now is we're going to go ahead and assign this to an array spread, which is the response we get from the URQL hook. So we're going to go ahead and say that this is going to be use the get toppings query, and we're going to pass in a optional parameter here, which is going to say the network, or what do they call it, the request policy is going to be cache first. And so what that's going to say is that we want to always optimize looking for cache, because we've already seen all the toppings in our UI, so we know we have it in cache, and this will allow us to avoid any expensive lookups to our network. Now with this, we're going to go ahead and bring in this case, just the top level response, and I'm going to actually spread the first response right off the top, and that's going to be called data. And that data we're able to now have typings on, so we're going to come in here and create a hash map of sorts, if you will, for us to be able to iterate over. A hash map of sorts for us to be able to iterate over and be able to get the code we want. So I'm going to go ahead and say that this is going to be my topping map. And that topping map is going to be comprised of this data object, and then there's the pizza topping, and we're going to map over that. And I'm going to go ahead and pass in the topping as a top level input, and the response we're going to get on this is going to actually be, actually I need to make this as a reduce. We're going to go ahead and reduce that, and we're going to be able to pass in as an object a collector. So we're going to go ahead and pass in then the current, and we're going to pass in the collector, and we're going to be able to return this now. So we're going to say, as we're passing in an empty object now, and we're going to come down here and be able to say that the collector, oh, I had those backwards. I'm sorry. It's going to be collector and then current. So collector is referring to the object that we're returning back. So we're going to always return the collector. And what we're going to do is we're going to say that the collector, and then what we want to pass in is the current dot title, which is going to be the name of that item that we have, name of the ingredient. And then we're just going to go ahead and assign that to the current value. In this case, we could even go ahead and pass in the ID. We could actually just pass in the ID on there. So now we've very much got an exact map here. And so what we have is we're taking the collector, we're going ahead and assigning the current.title onto the object, and then we're able to grab the current.id, and this is our topping map. I'm going to go ahead and type this as well. Okay, so that should actually create the hash map that we're looking for. We're going to go ahead and console log that out to make sure that we've got the entire payload the way that we would expect. We're going to return to our front end, and we're just going to go ahead and test this. So let's select a couple of these here. We're going to go ahead and run this. And when we go to our console, what we should be able to see now is that we have the a mapping here of the beef, bell pepper, and broccoli, and this is actually going to be, actually this is all the toppings. And so this is exactly what we're looking for. So now what we can do is we're going to head back over to our code editor. And here's where we'll be able to transform our selected toppings into a list of their associated IDs. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and call a new array here. We're going to call this the transformed, or we'll call this maybe topping IDs. And this is going to be the selected toppings, where we will map that through, and we're going to go ahead and just pass in the selected topping, and we're going to return now the value of the topping map where the string that we're passing in is going to be the value on that. And here we're going to just add a little cheating TypeScript at this part of the project to just enforce telling this that we know for a fact that the topping map will exist, instead of implementing a proper TypeScript guard in this case. From there, we can go ahead and actually look at the topping IDs. And what this should give us now is a very pared down list of IDs for the selected toppings that we want to input. So if I go ahead and select just maybe 2 of these here, and I go ahead and hit order, it looks like I have a few more selected. So let me unselect those, so I can only expect 2 inside of this list here, and that's seemingly correct. I've got 2 of these IDs now. That's great. So let's go ahead and use that same utility that we just created to create the payload shape that we're expecting to be able to return our for our mutation statement. So the mutation statement, if you remember, it's looking for a very specific shape, and that is the shape of this pizza topping ID. It needs to be this object here. So we're going to go ahead and create that now. We'll come back over to our list here, and we'll say that on this return here, we're going to actually just enforce this to be the pizza topping and the ID right away. So we can say pizza topping, and it should look just like that, actually. We put that inside here, pizza topping. There we go. And then we have the topping map. Okay, so this should give us the shape of the payload that we're looking for. Let's go ahead and test it. We're going to go ahead and run that again here. So we're going to hit order, and we can see that we're getting the pizza topping with the proper ID associated. So that's actually going to be basically everything that we need for that mutation. So with that being created, we're now able to actually work with our mutation here. And we're going to go ahead and import a mutation from this as well. So we're going to go ahead and say the use create pizza mutation now. And we're going to use the same hook method. So we're going to go ahead and now add down below here the const and our return object equals the use pizza mutation. And what's nice about this mechanism is that we're actually able to get a 2-part response here, where we're able to say on the first part we got the result, and on the second part we're able to say this is the mutation. And the mutation we're actually able to, and we can even call it whatever we want, so we'll say create pizza. And on this we're able to now come down inside our handler here, and this is a function that we're able to call separately. So we can now say that this is the create pizza function here, which is going to be the, maybe we need to give it a different name here. We'll call this insert pizza, and we'll bring this down inside of our code. And we can see now that we actually are looking for the variables that we're supposed to pass in. So we have pizza toppings, which are going to be the topping IDs. And we're going to pass in the title, which is going to be our name field. And here we're able to actually leverage our typings to be able to say that we're going to be a partial of this insert input. And this allows us to essentially have everything that we need. And with that, we are able to actually create pizzas inside of our system. Let's go ahead and have a test of that now. So before we begin, we're going to go ahead and create the spicy tuna here. And we're going to go ahead and simply run these two here. We're going to go ahead and order that. And if we look at the network tab, we should see that a GraphQL request went out. And we can see that so we created the spicy tuna pizza, and we can see that it was created. We can see here that we got a response back from our pizza toppings that we were fetching. So we are able to create pizzas now, which is great. We're able to do some sort of an art of a Hawaiian. So we could do something kind of like a pineapple and cheese and pork. Go ahead and order that. We can see down here again that we got the pizza Hawaiian created. If we come inside of our data here, we can go to the pizzas that were created, and we'll see that the pizzas themselves are created, and we'll see that pizza toppings have been associated with those. In the next step, what we want to do is actually go ahead and finish this UI off, where we're going to be able to see pizzas that were ordered. We're going to be able to see the ones that I've ordered, and we're going to see a list of all the historical pizzas and all pizzas that all users have created as well. We'll do that in the next video, and we'll catch you over there.